like a matron in the GP. So more responsibilities they couldn't, because they'd have to go for further training due to the lack of university qualifications. Now, saying that they have done it, they require working in a team, again repeated, because it's such an important element. They need good computer skills, as I said before. They need the database, things like that. They need to be able to type in prescriptions. They need to be able to, you know, spell, read, write, and be able to the next doctor can, or GP nurse can see what they're putting. Dealing with emotional situations. Now that is required. It's under qualifications. I was a bit skeptical at first, but it is a qualification that you need. Not one that is physically on paper, but you need to deal with emotional situations. If you're an emotional wreck, how are you supposed to deal with somebody, say, say for example, a dog died and they can't control themselves? That's not good, and that's not very, you know, professional. So they've got to be able to deal with emotional situations and not try to get too attached. They've still got to have that level and that balance of being a nurse, well, a GP nurse, and obviously observation skills, to be able to pick up things and have the initiative and, you know, using that sort of skills. Now we're going to move on to wanted skills. They want people that are flexible, adaptable. They want people who can be organised, confident, use their own initiative, excellent people skills, answer questions and offer advice, happy to be part of a team, dealing with emotional situations again. So it's not just a want, it's a need. And like I said, a lot of these are repeated because they're not just a need, they're a want as well. It's something that they want. The more that you have, the better chance you have at completing this job with no problems. Obviously there will be problems in the way, but they'll be less likely to have any problems if they continue to have all the wants and the qualifications that they need. Now to move into incentives. Now, what makes people want to do this job? 5 weeks paid holiday. I must say myself, I would love that if that happened to me. That would be fantastic. Sometimes it depends. If this is full-time, but if you're part-time, that is to be negotiated. So sometimes a GP will offer them a car, but it's obviously the GPs, but they just pay for it themselves to be able to get them access to work and from. Or they give bus travel, they give you free uniform, further training as well, and a parking space, which, you know, we all need if we do have a car. So the incentives are quite, with GP nurses, then there's not that many, due to, obviously they get covered by the NHS and stuff like that. They don't particularly need a lot, but obviously 5 weeks, you know, holiday is a lot. A car, free uniform is perfect. Who wants to pay for uniform? And further training is fantastic if they want the opportunity to go higher in the chain. Now moving on to the stages of recruitment. Firstly, they'll obviously apply online or a newspaper or wherever they have advertised the job. Most of the time they don't tend to post in newspapers or their own web pages, due to the fact that they don't want their patients, you know, going online and go, oh, there's a job. They don't want their patients working for them because they won't be able to have them as a patient, because it's not professional. So obviously once they filled out the online application, they would then have to do a CRB check, which big, you know, organisations like the NHS, anything to do with taking care of people, they need the CRB check. They will have then, once they pass that, a one-to-one interview with obviously the leader, the chief executive of the GP surgery. Now once they've done that, they will then do a test. Now this is a series of 2 different tests. There will be one with a dummy. Now this is show that they are able to take bloods or look after a person. It may sound silly, but obviously they can't use real people, just for health and safety reasons. So they have to be able to see that this person can actually care for them and get a sense of that. Then they obviously have to do a written test, which you know, is acceptable. Doing a written test to make sure that they have the right qualifications and that they are the right person. And the final interview will be there. That will be in front of the chiefs and a couple of other GPs. Now, the reason they have this final test is to make sure, well, final interview is to make sure that the others get a sense of, you know, they get a feel for the person, which is what they need to do. Finally, we're going to move on to the conclusion. To move on to the conclusion, an unexperienced or experienced GP nurse can join the team. So that means if you're fresh out of university and you've just finished, you are able to walk into this job. Maybe not as frequent as people that are experienced, but you still are able to walk into a job. You see here that they have to be right for the team and the right personality to be able to cater for all of those people. So to conclude all of this all together, basically what that means is, from the whole job analysis, you can see, for one, it's not an easy job, but the qualifications and the standard of having the process from the stages and what they want, you can see it's a well thought out plan, and it's very, very in detail and intricate process. And obviously it is a long process because obviously you train for a nurse for about 5 years. And thank you, this concludes my presentation. Here are my references that I used. Thank you. Any